Welcome, everyone, to the Week 15 series of Just Saying Football with Jack and Sean. I'm your host, Sean Gann, alongside my partner, Jack McNicholas. We're here to bring you news, notes, weekly updates, and game analysis of your favorite teams from around the league. If you had not had the chance, go check out our website at justsayingfootball.com and follow us on Instagram at justsayingNoGWJS for article and video updates. Sunday football is about to be upon us, my friend. We got 8 games at 1 o'clock. It's going to be fun. Let's start with the Seattle Seahawks, 9-4, taking on the Washington football team in Washington. What you got for us on that one, Jack?
We got a couple of teams right now that are, in playoff hunts, but they are very different right now. The Washington football team's leading the NFC East, and they're at home in this one against Russell Wilson and the Seahawks, who really fixed a lot of their mistakes from a couple of weeks ago, last week against the Jets when they won 40-3. I think that this is going to be a very interesting matchup, a high-powered offense versus a really, really stout defense.
Yeah, that Washington team put up 2 defensive touchdowns in their win against the 49ers last week in Arizona. They had to play in Arizona for the rest of the season because of air quality, I think, going on in San Francisco.
Yeah.
So Washington, it's going to be relying on them. Sadly, no Alex Smith this week for them with a calf injury. He's strained it. It's on the same leg that he had the surgeries on. You got to be extra careful with that. So Dwayne Haskins getting the start. Hard to trust Dwayne Haskins. He was benched at the beginning of the season, got demoted all the way down to the 3rd-string quarterback to really learn and understand, is what Ron Rivera said. I got to take the Seahawks in this one. What Russell Wilson, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett can do, and what we saw last week from Jamal Adams, who just set the record for DB sacks in the single season at 8.5. I trust what they can do. They'll get after Dwayne Haskins. They're going to make him really, really uncomfortable, and I expect him to throw a couple picks.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. And this offense as a whole right now, just 30th ranked in yards. I'm not expecting them to really win this game based on their offense. Like you said, their defense here is their main X factor. Chase Young, he got his first defensive touchdown last week. But Seattle, this offense can really, really throw. And the tough thing has been that, we've seen what Washington's defense does to a passing game as well as what they do up front. But I think Russell Wilson's going to struggle this week. And I think at home, December football in Washington, I think that they can make him have a couple of mistakes and they can actually win at home this week, shockingly.
Oh, wow. I'm surprised by that. I mean, still no Antonio Gibson is looking like, so.
Yeah.
J.D. McKissic's going to get it. I'm surprised with that one.
I like J.D. McKissic's ability with the receiving game. I think that Dwayne Haskins, we always talk about how he has a security blanket in Terry McLaurin, but really I think that he's going to need J.D. McKissic's ability to, and that's just, receiving. We've seen him get 15 targets in a game this year. I think that they're going to try to, have short plays, build drives, try to win this game on defense and stop Seattle from scoring.
I think it's easier said than done.
Definitely.
Moving on, we got the Jacksonville Jaguars heading off to Baltimore to face the Ravens. The Ravens are looking like the Ravens of last year now with their offense. Lamar Jackson seems to finally be able to get things going. They got a huge win against the Browns last week in which Lamar Jackson actually stepped out because of cramps. Not sure if it was cramps or he just had to use the bathroom. He did say it was cramps, but either way, he came back in, got them the win. What you got for us in this one?
Oh, man. I mean, like you said, Baltimore is looking good. And last week, the Browns played better than we've seen them play all season, and we've seen them play pretty well this year. But Baltimore, they got the win. They're back home against a favorable team this week. They're really just trying to stay in this playoff race, with them being 3rd in their division, shockingly, with Pittsburgh, Cleveland above them. They need to take this win against Jacksonville. I'm expecting a big game from Jackson. We saw him get 100 on the ground last week. We saw Dobbins get over 60% of rushing snaps. I'm looking for J.K. Dobbins and Lamar to have over 75 on the ground. I think Jacksonville on their side, though, it's very interesting. They are a 1-12 team on paper and on the field.
Yeah, I mean, we saw Gardner Minshew come in, replace Mike Glennon. It's probably going to be the Gardner Minshew show going forward. We'll get some more Minshew magic, hopefully. But the Baltimore defense is solid. They're really good at stopping the run when they need to. They're going to be having, Calais Campbell, Derek Wolfe. These guys will get after them to try to slow down James Robinson, what appears to be the only bright spot of this offense thus far. He does have over 1,000 yards. Got to give him credit. Just has been having a great season. However, The offensive passing weapons aren't really there for them. It's going to be hard to pass on guys like Marcus Peters and Jimmy Smith. So I got to take the Ravens in this one. They're at home. They're coming in. They're riding high. And I think Lamar Jackson is kind of back to his MVP caliber self. And this is the time that you want him to be back in that rhythm.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm taking the Ravens in that one. I think that, it's just good home matchup for them. Another AFC team in the playoff race right now, ahead of their division. They're tied with the Colts, but the Tennessee Titans at home taking on Detroit. Detroit, we've seen them win against Chicago 2 weeks ago with Darrell Bevell as a coach, and then last week against Aaron Rodgers. How are you feeling about them against the Titans this week?
Well, the good thing for the Lions is that it looks like Matthew Stafford will be playing this week. We saw he got the rib injury last week. Ian Rappaport came out today on his Twitter and said it's likely that he will be starting. So that is a huge boost for this offense. That means that they can now score compared to what it would have been like if you only had Chase Daniels. So I think this is a big one. However, this Titans offense that is run by Derrick Henry, this is the time of the season where he likes to get 150 yards a game. This is just what he does. Once you hit like that week 13 mark, that's where he's like, all right, 200-yard games, 150-yard rushing games. I'm just going to keep doing it week after week after week. And this Lions defense is not good at stopping the run, and he is the league leading in rushers. So they're going to have their work cut out for them, even if their offense can score.
Yeah, and I'm looking at, Tannehill, this offense, just the weapons that he has outside of Henry. If the Lions do start scoring with Stafford, like you mentioned, they can score when Stafford's on the field, but the Titans, they can score any given moment. These guys, they could, A.J. Brown, we saw him last week with an absolutely incredible catch in the end zone. I mean, they're playing great, and Jeff Okudah being out for the rest of the season is a huge hit to the Lions secondary. When Stafford goes off, he goes off. This could be one of those games we're not expecting. They're 5-8. They may want to just try to get a couple of wins here with Darrell Bevell, but I'm going with the Titans on this one. I trust their offense. Tannehill, Corey Davis, as you mentioned, this is Derrick Henry's season right now. Top of the league in yards. I'm loving the Titans in this one at home.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I absolutely do think it's the Titans. It's just a really favorable matchup. They have the areas where the Lions are weak are the super strong areas. So that secondary of the Lions, that run defense of the Lions are not great. What do the Titans do really well? They run the ball really well, and they're able to pass the ball really well. And that's going to give them the edge for sure this week. And also, they know that the Colts are facing the Texans, also a favorable matchup. They want to still hold that number one seed in the AFC South. They don't want to lose that this week. That means that you can't drop your play level to another team that's playing a little bit worse than you are in football. They know that Derrick Henry's going to see like 25 carries. I do expect him to get over 125 yards this week and definitely definitely rumbling his way into the end zone for at least one touchdown.
Yeah, and the Lions are also going to be out. Just before we move on to the next game, I just want to mention Frank Ragnow, who was a former first-round pick out of Arkansas. He had a fractured throat last week.
Yeah,
and he played the rest of the game with that. Shout out to him. He's a warrior.
Yeah.
He's going to be out the rest of the season. But when you have your center out, a guy like a veteran like Matthew Stafford, you see mistakes in games like that. You see fumbles. Just something to watch out. Could give this week Tennessee defense a couple of opportunities here, their pass rush. But, I know you're excited for our next matchup.
Oh, yeah, I really am. We got the Chicago Bears heading off to Minnesota to play my Vikings in arguably the biggest game of both their seasons. Vikings and Bears right now are both sitting at 6 and 7. The Vikings are lucky enough right now to be in that in the hunt 8th seed. And the only reason why we're above the Bears is because we got that huge win in Soldier Field earlier this year. But It's been a change of quarterback for the Bears. And the Bears seem to be doing better under that change of quarterback. Mitchell Trubisky has stepped up and has kind of revigorated and re-energized this offense. That's making me worried, man.
Yeah, oh man. I mean, Mitch Trubisky has actually looked pretty good. I mean, he's one of those guys in the offseason that everybody was looking to criticize. And, last week they got a good win. They looked great against the Texans. I love what Matt Nagy does when, he's able to get certain offensive flow. We saw David Montgomery last week get an 80-yard rush, but on those big plays, you also have Mitch Trubisky. They're going to have to contain him on any small runs, any first downs he wants to get. The Vikings are really going to have to shut down Allen Robinson. He's Mitch Trubisky's main guy. He would be a main guy on any team, I'll tell you. The way that he has been playing this season has been absolutely phenomenal. 86 catches, over 1,000 yards already, 6 touchdowns. I think that if the Vikings are going to stop Mitch Trubisky, it goes to stopping Allen Robinson.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I also think that if the Vikings want to see a win right now, they have to control the clock. What sucked last week, if anyone watched the Vikings game against Tampa Bay, they just dominated pretty much every single stat category in that first half. The problem with them, outside of 3 missed field goals, 2 missed extra points, was that they could not finish once they got in the red zone, which is weird because they are a top 5 red zone team on the season. Yeah. So if they want to win, you got to do exactly what you did against this really good Tampa Bay run defense. It's going to have the same problem. You got to run the ball effectively, set up the right holes, contain the clock, finish drives. If you're the Vikings, you got to finish the drives. With that being said, I actually think the Bears are going to win this one. Their defense looks like they're back. It looks like they're ready to play. They're out here with a vengeance. The Vikings got a surprise win in Soldier Field. I think that they're looking for a big win against the Vikings at home to surprise them. And with no Eric Kendricks leading that Vikings defense, he's out again with the calf injury. That could open up the field a lot more for these guys, especially Jimmy Graham, David Montgomery to have big days. Yeah. And I expect the Bears to actually get a surprise win in Minnesota.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting one. I'm going to go with your Vikings on this one. I really liked what I saw from them in that game, despite Dan Bailey, who's a great kicker when you look at him over his career. But wow, last week, it was a bad day to be Dan Bailey. And this Vikings offense is going to have to be able to finish drives. As you mentioned, this is a stout Bears defense. I think that they're just going to try to run Dalvin a lot. I think that the Bears, they have film now on Jefferson and Thielen this year. I'm expecting a big game from Cook. And I would love to see him get over 20 carries, but I'm going to take them in this one, but I am going to predict that Khalil Mack really does give Cousins and this whole backfield. It's not a hot take, it's something everybody knows, but I'm predicting that Mack is going to be a big problem this week, and that is on Dalvin to make big plays.
Yeah, it really is. Moving on. Got an AFC East matchup with the New England Patriots taking on the Miami Dolphins. The Patriots got the best of the Dolphins in week 1, but this Dolphins team is very different from that week 1 Dolphins team. What you got for us?
Oh, man. I mean, you have been getting me up on this Dolphins team all year, but here we are in week 15, and they actually, the last 5 matchups with the Patriots since 2018 have gone back and forth and back and forth. I think that after New England got the win this year, that Miami's going to take this one at home. I like the fact that the Miami knows that in 2 weeks, in the last regular season game, they're going to have to play the Bills. And if they can win this game, and the Bills could maybe lose a game or two, they can actually have a chance to win the division. They have a good chance at a playoff spot. I'm looking at them this week, but I expect the Patriots defense to be a tough matchup against these receivers in Miami, which I think is a weak point.
Yeah, I gotta this is a weird game to me because Bill Belichick does so well against rookie quarterbacks, and we saw it against Justin Herbert this week, and obviously Tua is going to be the starting quarterback. But just the way that the Dolphins were able to get 3 turnovers on Patrick Mahomes, 3 interceptions, that was a huge game. I mean, Xavier Howard got 2 interceptions. He even came up to Mahomes after the game. Mahomes is like, you're my kryptonite. You got me in college. If you go back to that Texas A&M Baylor matchup, it was the Xavier Howard show getting interceptions on Mahomes.
Yeah.
With that being said, I really love what the Dolphins have did. I was high on them in the offseason. I love the way that they have been fighting. They are a vastly improved team as the season has gone on. They're fighting for a playoff spot at the 7th seed. They still have a potential to win the Bills. The Bills lose this week, and then they get to face them in week 17. It could be interesting. I don't like what that offense of the Patriots have been doing as well.
Yeah.
Cam Newton passing has not been great. The running is there.
The fourth worst passing offense right now in the league. 185 a game. Not even 200 yards a game passing against one of this tough Miami defense right now, Sean. That is ugly. 18th against the pass.
That's ugly. You got to take the Dolphins in that one. Moving on, we got two pretty institutionalized franchises here. We got the San Francisco 49ers taking on the Dallas Cowboys in Dallas. What do you got for us in this one, man?
Do you really have to pass this one to me? This is a game where, we got the classic 90s rivalry. These are 2 of America's storied franchises, which Sean mentioned are now a little bit institutionalized. The fact is here, it's like the Joe Montana, Troy Aikman days. It's like that, except now it's
Nick Mullins, Andy Dalton.
And I don't know, Shanzi. I think that the big thing in this one is the receiving threats. Ayuk and Deebo Samuel, we've seen the 49ers get creative and really feed their receivers. But Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb, they actually look fantastic for the Cowboys despite this change in quarterback.
Yeah, I want to see Ezekiel Elliott get a rushing touchdown. Okay.
Yeah, finally. Come on, man.
This has bothered me all season, but he has not scored a rushing touchdown since week 5. Okay. That was against the Giants when Dak Prescott went injured. Since that week 5, we're now in week 15. He's only scored once, and that was a receiving touchdown against my Minnesota Vikings. Also, since the beginning of the season, he's only had 100 rushing yards against my Vikings. Hasn't had a second one. I want to see Ezekiel Elliott. I don't know why we're not seeing the Ezekiel Elliott role. I don't know if it's the offensive line. I don't know if it's the quarterback. I don't know if it's the head coach. But I want to see Ezekiel Elliott. This guy is one of the best running backs in the league. I know that the offensive line may not be there. I know the quarterback may not be there. But show us why you're a top 5 running back. Show us why you're one of the best, Ezekiel Elliott. I think that this – I feel like I say it every week. It goes through him, this offense. And although they have the great passing weapons – Ezekiel Elliott, step up, man. Let's get some touchdowns for you. Let's have a big yard game. Let's get 100 yards. Let's give him 25 carries this game.
Yeah, and the 49ers, you mentioned it, the 49ers also, we mentioned earlier, but they had 2 crucial huge turnovers. This is a sloppy team right now. Raheem Mostert is great. I mentioned the receivers, but without George Kittle, without, some of these pieces, I feel like it's really been a tough season for the Niners to rely on their defense. I am going to pick them in this one. I think that, just Kyle Shanahan, I trust his game planning. I think that the fact they're 5-8 with all their injuries shows they're competitive, and they just really want to try to finish the season out with some wins. So I'm going to go with them on this one.
Oh God, this is a weird one to me. I think either team can win it. I'll go with you. I'm going to agree with you, and I think the main reason why is because the Cowboys' defense is not very good at stopping the run. Yeah. And the 49ers have a bunch of running backs that can run the ball well, whether it's Mostert, whether it's Wilson, whether it's Coleman. So I like you said, I think Kyle Shanahan can put up the right scheme to at least get the run game going, which will then in turn set up the play action pass, hopefully for Nick Mullins to find some of his playmakers. Sadly, no Deebo Samuel this week. He's going to be looking at Ayuk and Bourne's way mainly, but I think he can potentially scheme his way to the win. So I agree with you there. Moving on, AFC South matchup. We just mentioned a little bit ago. Mm-hmm. Houston Texans going to Indianapolis to face the Colts. They actually just saw each other 2 weeks ago. Colts got the big win there. One person got a highlight in the last 3 weeks, just been dominating the league. T.Y. Hilton didn't have a touchdown.
Absolutely. We're hating on him.
Yeah, through the first 11 or so weeks. And come week 12 against Tennessee, he goes 4 for 81 and a touchdown. Then he plays Houston, goes 8 for 110 and a touchdown. And then last week against Vegas, 5 for 86 and 2 touchdowns. He's been playing well. Him and Rivers have the connection. What do you got for us in this one?
Oh, man. I mean, you mentioned it. It's that Rivers-Ty connection's got to get you excited. This Texans team has actually, it hasn't looked like the Texans defense we've seen over the past couple of years. Right now they're allowing, the 27 points a game right now. They're the 7th worst defense in terms of scoring. I think Indianapolis is so creative, and they have such a good offensive line, which helps Rivers have his time. He has so many weapons, the tight ends, the receivers. We're looking at all of these skill players that have different things. T.Y. Hilton and Michael Pittman are very different receivers, but Philip Rivers can still use them. Hines, Taylor in the backfield. I'm really liking the Colts in this one at home. We mentioned that they played recently, but I got to say, Deshaun Watson in any matchup for me, it's hard for me to bet against him, even though all the odds have been stacked against him this season.
Yeah, I expect a big game from Deshaun Watson after last week's performance. The offense really struggled to move against the Bears. The Bears were just playing lights out defense last week. They were coming at any team that week with a vengeance. They were upset hearing all of the losses, hearing all of the man, you're bad, not good. And they showed the entire world why they're still one of the best defenses. But that being said, the Colts' weapons are there. If Jonathan Taylor can't run the ball, they have Wilkins who can run the ball. They have Hines who can run the ball. All these guys can catch the ball out of the backfield. They can do a lot with their receivers. They can do a lot with their running backs. And their defense has been fantastic this entire season. So when you're matched with an offense that's well balanced and you got a good defense to complement that, it's really, really hard to go against them. So I will also take the Colts. Like we mentioned, Titans in a similar situation. against an easy matchup. You have an easy matchup here. You can't afford a loss right now when you're tied when you're with the 1-2 in your AFC South division. You got it. These are now must-win games as we're getting in towards the playoffs.
Absolutely.
And you want the seeding. You want as much home field advantage as you can get, even though you're going to still have to go through Kansas City. It's looking like right now.
Yeah, it's interesting when you look at this division. With Jacksonville doing so bad and the Colts right now with the Texans and the Colts playing right now. The Texans are really only there to just kind of create a mess. The Texans are trying to beat this Colts team so that they
ruin their
can
season.
Ruin their season.
The Texans ruin their season. I mean, do your best, but I think it's going to be harder to do against a really, really good Colts team.
Yeah.
Moving on, NFC South matchup.
Oh, baby.
Oh, yeah. Tampa Bay Buccaneers heading off to Atlanta to take the Falcons. No Julio Jones this week, though. Makes me skeptical of this offense. What you got for us, Jack?
I mean, everybody always says it's hard to look at Matt Ryan as somebody who is a threat when he doesn't have Julio Jones. Calvin Ridley is going to see a lot of double coverage this week from a defense that is, right now they're 6th in picks. Right now, they have 14 on the year. Matt Ryan threw 3 last week. I think that the X factor here is the Tampa Bay defense. Devin White, Shaq Barrett, JPP, who has been playing lights out the last couple of weeks. It seems like this guy gets a fumble recovery or forces a fumble every week now, and it's looking great for them.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Matt Ryan really does just struggle so much when there's no Julio Jones. And no Julio Jones this week. This could be one of those games where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers just dominate, and it will just be set up because their defense is just giving them great field position over and over and over again, forcing turnovers, forcing these 3 and outs, getting sacks. It's tough right now to trust the Falcons. I always think that with them, they're one of those teams where their defense can out of nowhere just be like, we're so good, you better watch out. But Tampa Bay Buccaneers have a lot of weapons. They will be without their left tackle, which could be big. He was placed on the COVID list as a high risk. He won't be able to suit up on Sunday. That could maybe allow Dante Fowler Jr. to get after Brady. But at the same time, Chris Godwin, Scotty Miller, Rob Gronkowski, Mike Evans. I know there's no Ronald Jones, but you still have Leonard Fournette and Shady, who both did pretty well against the Vikings when they did get their looks. And I think you just got to trust what the Buccaneers can do in this one against a very, very beatable Falcons.
Yeah, the Bucs know they need to win this. They know the New Orleans is ahead of them. Brady does not like being second in his division. I think that what they can do here against Atlanta is just air it out. They have Fournette. As you mentioned, they have a lot of running backs that can get involved. I love the fact that Brady is being a little bit pushed here, and it's a very, very favorable matchup. I'm going to take them at home as well.
Yeah, I just got a notification from Bleach Report right now. Michael Thomas is heading to the IR. He will be missing the rest of the season. This is really big for the Saints. This is a huge loss. They're playing the Chiefs this weekend. This could be now. Or can the Buccaneers? This is super random, but can the Buccaneers take that AFC South now that NFC South?
It could be. This is an interesting thing. As we record, we see this update right now as we're literally talking about the competition in the NFC South, and yeah, they can. I literally just talked about Tom Brady getting motivated. How much more motivated is he when he can see an opening like this for a division win on his new team? He's going to go try to make a statement, and it starts right this week with Atlanta. Like we said, they're our pick.
Yeah, I just pulled up their schedule, by the way. The Saints' remaining 3 games are versus the Chiefs. That's going to be a lot harder to win now with no Michael Thomas, and they're getting Breeze back off the injury. This could be an interesting game. Then it's versus the Vikings on Christmas Day. Merry Christmas to me. That's awesome. Yeah. And then it's at Carolina. And I know people will probably think Carolina's a very beatable team, and they are. Carolina only lost within 3 points last time they played.
Yeah.
If somehow the Saints drop 3 and the Buccaneers pick up 3, they will have just won the AFC South out of NFC South out of nowhere. This is a big injury all of a sudden. This late in the season to have him go to IR, Michael Thomas. You're right, Tampa Bay, Tom Brady. If you didn't have any extra motivation, you do now. So got to go out there and get the win. Well, that's all the time that we have. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you everyone for listening. We hope you enjoy the Sunday games.
Yeah, enjoy this big slate of Sunday games, 8 in the early window. Just check out all your game picks here. Just Saying Football on YouTube, justsayingfootball.com for all the videos, and Just Saying No GWJS on Instagram for all your updates. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.